Who's gonna win this weekend? Gotta predict the scores. Gotta be Nostradamus, picking wins, losses and draws. Who's gonna win this weekend? Gotta predict the scores. Gotta be Nostradamus, picking wins, losses and draws.
Yes, people, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. How are you? Happy Friday. Happy Friday. It is the 19th of December and we have a game day tomorrow. We do indeed, against Liverpool. Team news is out. Previews and the like shall commence. How's everybody doing? Smash the like button, guys. You know the rules. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. If you aren't subscribed and you want to participate in the Chidley Chit Chat, then all you have to do is hit the subscribe button, rub the sub, and it should open up immediately. If it doesn't, like Bonnie Blue, then just hit the refresh button, and it will certainly open up the next time immediately. No waiting around. Guys, notification button should also be squeezed, and comments should be dropped thick and fast. Let me know your thoughts on today's Chidley Chit Chat. We've got some transfer news, views, and clues to go through as well. But there's not too many new names. Although there is a name out there that is being linked to a Premier League rival on a loan deal that, to me, makes more sense for him to be coming, or at least linked to, Tottenham Hotspur than to where he is linked. He's a great player. And some of you in the chat are going to say, oh, rejects FC again. Because there's this new narrative, not new narrative, a common narrative, which is if you're buying players that are young, no more kids. If you're buying players that are over the age of about 28, we're buying granddads. If you're buying players from teams that aren't yet to do it, that haven't yet made it, then there's the risk of the unknown. If you buy players from overseas, they're from farmers' leagues. And if you buy players from teams that are better than you, that are potentially surplus to their requirements, then they are called reject FC. I don't know where that leaves us. It gives you about a wiggle room of, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 clubs in the Premier League. They have to be about the age of 23 to 26. And they also have to be exceptional, injury-free, have played in the Premier League, and you know, I even hear about the foreign quota. Foreign quota, they're not homegrown. So basically, we're looking at about 4 players in the entire roster of football that would satisfy, you know, in realistic terms. It's quite crazy, as is the narratives that I'm hearing, again, that the players are the sole and only problem at Tottenham Hotspur. You know how much I love Lubo. I love Lubo to pieces, right? But I just heard him on Saba's channel a minute ago saying, the squad isn't good enough. The team are awful. We have to remember that we finished 17th last season and under Ange, right? And then this year, obviously, we're not doing too much better. But the squad isn't clearly good enough. It's nothing to do with the manager. We don't know if the manager's good enough or otherwise, but it's all about the players. And then to use the analogy that he used, he then said, look at Forest. Because the conversation was about, are there players... Like, is our team really that good? The name Tottenham Hotspur presents itself as one whereby it's unthinkable that Fulham would have players that get into our starting 11, and Forest and Brentford, etc. And they were talking about whether or not Brentford's team last season was better than ours, or vice versa. And they both said yes, that Brentford's team last season was better than ours. And look, everyone's free to their own opinion, but the justification on the opinion when Lubo moved to Nottingham Forest was that Nuno did really well. They finished 26 points above us last season, or 25 or something, and then he didn't start so well next year. Ange comes in and takes them from 10th to 18th. So Ange Postecoglou had an impact on the players, right? By that rationale, they finished 25 points above us last season when we had Ange. Nuno did really well last year. He gets fired because of a problem with his relationship. Ange comes in, doesn't get any time either, by the way. He gets 8 games or whatever. He takes them down to 18th. He gets sacked. And now Sean Dyche has made them rally up again. So by that rationale, by that logic, the manager had a massive impact on the performance of Nottingham Forest. That's the same manager that we had last year that got us to finish 17th. So to sit there and say that the players are the problem and the manager has nothing to do with it or very little to do with it, I mean, you could think that, but you can't really use that analogy to justify the point, because the point that they're making is that Forest team was here with Nuno, then it was here with Ange, now it's back to here with Sean Dyche. Therefore, the manager has an impact on the players. And when you say, well, look how shit we've been for 2 consecutive years, we finished 17th last year, and this year we're currently 11th, and we're terrible, and that's the evidence. Well, we had Ange Postecoglou for 80% of that time period. And so if we had Nuno or Sean Dyche, we wouldn't necessarily be in that position, right? We'd be in a better position. And just because, even if you can get on board all of that and hear the logic with me, then even if, like, we go, well, it's not Ange anymore, it's Thomas Frank. He's a better manager. Okay, but he's not showing he's a better manager. And there's no, like, just because you had a shit manager before doesn't mean you don't have a shit manager now. So this narrative that it's the players, when you look outside and when people that push that narrative then use examples to try to justify their point, they actually end up opening themselves up for like a can of baked beans to the ridiculousness of that entire take. I don't think Thomas Frank is good enough. I think the players need improving, as we know. We all know that. It's an absolute consistent theme. Everybody knows the players need to be improved in some departments. But this notion that the manager, therefore, is incapable of doing anything else is madness, because you can look at other teams that have had differing levels of performances with different iterations of management. And you look at Brentford, and again, I'll go back to this notion, like, everybody wanted a coach. Look what he did at Tony. Look what he did with Mbeumo, with Visser, etc., etc., etc. What's the difference? Well, maybe it's down to their scouting network. I said this before, Thomas Frank. I wasn't even against the signing of Thomas Frank, by the way. I was just like, as I said to you yesterday, I love that phrase that Michael introduced to me. Side grade. He's a side grade. Maybe a micro upgrade on Ange, but you know, if we're sitting there saying that the manager has absolutely no options but to do anything more than what he's doing, then why is that the same? Why is that not the same for other teams that have different performance levels from different management teams? You know, I don't understand why 2 things can't be true at the same time. But everyone wants to talk about one. Everybody wants to talk about the manager, if you feel that way. Everybody wants to talk about the players if you feel that way. I'm more than happy to sit there and say, look, there's certain areas in the team that need to be improved, but there's certain expectations from a manager that need to be better, that needs to be higher. But people are already on their, agendas. Always have been. Because, and this is not about Sava and Lubo or anyone on that channel, it's just generally in the content sphere at the moment. Not at the moment, always. People are more interested in being right and finding a way to maintain that they were right by moving goalposts and context and all that shit, and care more about the kind of the ego and what you said before, and trying to dance around to make sure that they're always in a position of being right, which I don't understand why people need to do that. Okay, it shouldn't be expected that you're always right. If I get through a day in the rest of my other businesses, like some days I lose a customer, right? Do I blame the customer? No. Blame myself. Right? Other days I gain a customer. It's a good day, as long as they hang around. You're gonna have good days and bad days. You're gonna make good decisions and bad decisions. Your opinions are also going to be wrong sometimes. And as much as you want them to be right, that's the whole point of fallibility, right? That's the exciting thing about being a human. Imagine guys, if you were perfect. Imagine how boring it would be if you were perfect. If everything you did, the Midas touch, like, it would be boring. But the exciting part about being human is the ability to learn and go from a state of imperfection to a state of betterment. To always know that you don't know anything. That is the trigger to being enlightened, is to realize how little you know, or that you don't know anything. But I also think that, and I obviously put myself in this same category here, that if you have the confidence to put yourself on a camera and talk in front of an audience, then you clearly have, I don't know, courage of your convictions, and you can dress it up as however you want, but essentially it comes down to ego, doesn't it? You've got an ego that you want to, that you think that you want your opinions to be heard, and then of course you don't like it when people tell you that you're wrong, and so you dance around it. But I just don't understand why, like, it's never one nor the other. It's never one nor the other. It's not are the players in our team good enough to win the league? Obviously not. Are any of the players in our team good enough to get into, like, to be in a consistently title-winning team? Possibly one, possibly two, maybe three, whatever. But there's so much more to it. And are they that bad? No. Are they capable of far more? Yes. All of the things that you can't see, you know, like the confidence, the backroom stuff, the things that are going on in those people's lives, arguments, niggling injuries, you know, stresses, trauma, people dying, whatever. All of the things that happen in your life, they happen in other people's lives too. And it gets amplified and magnified when you're asking other people in the team to be a part of a sum is greater than the parts exercise. And so if one person in that team's having a bad day, let alone multiple, then it won't necessarily always work, right? And it's a beautiful thing about imperfection, though, I think. But yeah. No, you're not perfect, Tommy. You're close to perfect, mate. You're close to perfect. You're Tony Beige. That's what you are, mate. Tony Beige, not Tony White. But yeah, the player, and everyone's welcome to their opinions, by the way. Everyone's welcome to their opinions. If you genuinely think that it's 100% the players, then I don't know what the point is of having a manager. I'm certainly not paying them this much money. The players are entirely responsible for everything, good and bad. Just ask ChatGPT to pick your team for you and save yourself 5 million quid a year. You know, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? We got to do some. I'll tell you what we are going to do. We're going to do some sponsorship news, and then we're going to do some hellos to the chat, and then we're going to get into the transfer news, views, and clues, and then of course we're going to do the Liverpool preview, because it's actually quite an interesting. Set of news today with regards to Liverpool's injury crisis. I actually look at the predicted 11s, and I think it's not a bad time to be playing Liverpool. It's not a bad time to be playing Tottenham this season. Every time's a good time to be playing Tottenham, but I genuinely think that we really, like, you know, if you look at the starting 11. They still have some brilliant players, of course they do, but I think that there's a chance that maybe Tottenham can, I don't know, have a little bit more of an edge in the game than they otherwise would, because they're missing some really important players. Really important players. I'll come to that later on. Guys, today's show is sponsored by OK Jersey. You know by now. A wonderful sponsor. They get around the traps. If you are looking to get yourself any kind of athleisure wear, it's not just football jerseys and that stuff, by the way. They do all sorts of sports apparel, and they're fantastic quality, and they're incredibly well priced. So if you just search for OK Jersey, there'll be a bunch of different websites and things you can pick. Wherever you're looking for, all the different items are in there. And if you use code Sean at checkout, then you get 8% off on the already fantastic prices. So search OK Jersey, and Bugsy's just barking, letting you know that she says exactly the same. Search OK Jersey, and then do a little look-see around there. See what is going on. Guys, shall I close the door? I think Bugsy's barking a little bit too much. Give me 1 second. Oh, no, she's back. Someone's come back in the house now, so she'll be fine. What was I going to say to you? Yeah, let's go and say hello to some people in the chat, shall we? Tompa, big up to you. He says, how are we doing? Big up to you, Tompa. Good to see you, my man. Adam Score Drawlock says, all good, Mr. 123. How are you? And how is everybody else? He's talking to himself. He's talking to Tompa. Adam, they said, just walked out on my job and told my boss, unless he starts talking to me like a human, I'm quitting. Never let people talk down to you. That's what I say. Wowzers. Wowzers, man. Good for you. Good for you. As long as you've got a job lined up. Have you? If you haven't, calm down. Not calm down, but think a little bit more about whether or not you have you got the situation sorted to be out. Can you cover your bills and stuff? Because it's a dry market out there, my man. It's a dry market. But I agree with your sentiment. If the geezer's being a donut, then let him know. Let him know. Let him know. Effing hell, big up to you. He says, let's think positive. 2-1 Spurs. Big up to you, my man. Who else we got in the chat? Brett Dennis, big up to you, my man. Big up to you, buddy. Roy Viking in the house. Big up to you, mate. Good afternoon to you. Chris Robbs in the house as well. Big up Sean and the chat. Great to see you. James is here as well. Shawnee, afternoon and the chat. Big up to you. Rachel Stevens on the new look board. That was a fun chat yesterday, wasn't it? It was a fun chat. Has anyone else found any new top 5? Rachel Stevens, gee whiz. Afternoon, Spurs fan. Dan, big up to you, my man. What are we doing here? Butler, my man, says Magic J. Good up, big up to you, my man. Big up to you, Marky. Good to see you, Voided. Big up to you, Sully. Big up to you, my man. Logan's in the house as well. Slip and Coy's in the house, as is Wilson T. Biggie Spurs is back in the game as well. Michael's in the house. This whole Prem proven bollocks drives me crazy. If you look at Arsenal, City, Liverpool, like half of their squads are from foreign leagues. Yeah, of course, yeah. Most of the best players that have ever played in the Premier League didn't start in the Premier League, did they? I think it just means that there's an acclimation process, right? There's a little bit of an unknown. Some players are going to look good in other leagues, and then they come over, and it's a different caliber. It's a worthwhile consideration, unless you're just absolutely certain. Like Brighton buy all of their players from overseas, right? But they obviously scout them within an inch of their life. They know exactly what they're looking for. It's not just about talent. They're looking for specificity, and they're fantastic at doing it. They are fantastic at doing it. I'd love to know, in a world when everybody has access to the same data now. It's not like, Newcastle or Tottenham or Villa or whoever else, insert any club here, don't also have access to Opta Index and the Y Scout and all those tools. I'm sure they have proprietary tools that filter these things through. But you have to remember, like Brighton, they change their manager regularly. They change their coaching staff regularly, and the football style is not always exactly the same. There are adaptations to it, and so I'd love to know how it is that they always find this next conveyor belt of talent. If they do sell Carlos Baliba, you better believe that they're going to bring in, I don't know, someone from Ecuador or someone from Venezuela or wherever, or Iceland that is going to be the next guy. And it never takes long for these guys to rise up. It never does. And it's a fantastic model. And everybody else is trying to do the same thing, but nobody does it as well as them. Nobody does. And I guess maybe at their sort of level, I've always said, like, at some point they need to keep hold of it if they want to move on to get into the Europa League spots consistently, and then pop into the Champions League occasionally here and there, and go through that transition that might take them an extra 5, 6, 7 years, whatever. At some point, they have to stop selling their best players, because you can't always find the next guy. I've been saying that for 2 years, and they still continue to find them. But at some point, other teams are going to catch up with the data model. But it works so well, doesn't it, for them? It does work so well for them, let's be honest. And they play great football. It'd be nice to be a Brighton fan, wouldn't it? It would be nice to go, like, great games of football. There's always, most of the time, they're high scoring. They win. I guess they win more than they lose. They draw quite a lot as well. And I don't know. It's just a nice, well-run club that you feel confident in, don't you? If you were their man. What's Scott saying? Sava and Lubo have truth to truth, but we know that truth isn't wanted in the Spurs fan base. What's this about? Oh, it's just the phrase from agendas to agenda. They have opinions, mate. They have opinions, don't they? They have opinions. Everyone's got opinions. Big up to you, Greg. Big up to you, Rusty. I'll get to the super stickers in a minute. Big up to you, Tony. Big up to you, Tom Puragel. I said hello to you. Let me see who else is in the house who I haven't said hello to. Ronald Cooper, big up to you, mate. How's your energy levels? I'm good today. I'm fine. Yeah, fine today. I didn't go on the Spurs 5 in the end last night. I was tired. Bit of a bad mood. Not bad mood, but just exhausted again. I need to get some B vitamins in me or something, Figure it out. Accidental Sava raid. Big up to you. Big up to you. Big up to Sava if he has raided. Oh, he has raided. It's an accidental Sava raid, is it? Big up to you guys. Thanks, everybody. Cheers, Sava. Frank is a mid-table manager. Open your eyes. Yeah, listen, that's what I think he's a mid-table manager. And I genuinely do think that he is someone who, I've said this before, I just think that these mid-table managers, they're not used to like the kind of spotlight of losing several games on the bounce. It's a different level of pressure. And some of them will rise up. It worked for Pochettino. Others will kind of, nobody really gets their first gig at, in management being at a top team. I think Arteta did, maybe Pep Guardiola did. But the vast majority of managers that end up working at the top have started at lower level teams, and they've proven themselves, and they have the cream does rise. But that doesn't mean that every manager that's done well for a mid-table team or have taken a team from bottom, relegation fodder into a security spot are then going to step up. Because, as I said before, I think we focus so much on the visual stuff. We focus so much on things like, one of the things that pissed off fans about Ange Postecoglou was that he didn't do very much on the touchline, or what he said in press conferences, what Thomas Frank says in press conferences, the timing of the substitutions. Was it the right sub? Was it the wrong sub? What the injuries, the players that we signed, why aren't they playing? How much did we spend? All of that stuff that we have like more access to, and it's understandable. If that's the only things that you can really access, then they're the things that you're going to kind of opine on more often than the other stuff. But I think that the kind of the intangibles of football are just as influential, so superbly influential, and have such an impact in the overall mindset, the happiness, the energy around not just the team, but the club, the players, the individuals, the managers, the coaches. I've already mentioned, like, we don't know what's happening in their private lives. Those things are going to have impact. I know a guy, Gary, who's often in the chat, who is often at the training ground with his job. He doesn't work for Tottenham, but he's often there. And he was saying to me, just as Xavi sort of started to get into the good run of form, when he had those 3 good games on the bounce, 2 man of the matches on the bounce, he just moved into his new home. And his family had come over finally from Holland, right? And so he'd be living out of a suitcase, I guess, or living out of a hotel room, or living at the training ground. Or I don't know the specifics, but those sorts of things are going to make you not feel settled, right? And so then he does move in, and then we suddenly kick into a little bit of form, and he plays better. Obviously, he had a stinker against Forest, fine, but those things we're not privy to those things. Separately to that, confidence, belief, understanding, and wavelengths, frequencies, all that stuff. I know it sounds a bit airy-fairy, but we all know it's massively important. It's super important in life to feel like you belong, to feel like you understand what's asked of you, to feel confident, to believe in something as well, to not only be confused, but be frustrated. Look at people like Jed Spence right now. Is he playing angry, or is he playing pissed off? Like, is he playing sad? Is he playing confused? Sometimes you see him put in a really good shift and you go, wow, look at the levels he's got. Other times you see him making mistakes, and when he gets stinker and hooked, he then throws his toys out of the pram. Those sorts of things, if we're seeing those things visually, what else is happening in the dressing room? What else is happening when he's talking to his mates? Fuck Thomas Frank, right? Fuck that manager. He's not playing me. Why? Porro should have been dropped. If Porro gets wind of that, or someone else says, do you hear Jed Spence? Well, just quietly, Jed Spence was pissed off because he thinks you should have been rotated out. If that was you, it's like being in a work organization, right? Imagine if you're in a sales team and you lose the client and you go, well, I signed the client, the account manager's to blame. And the account manager's like, no, you missold the client. You promised him things that I couldn't deliver. And so you just have just all of that shit, right? All that shit. And it just creates a bad environment. So my point is on this waffle rant is we focus on the things that we get access to and expect them to be the sole responsible factor in why it is that we're not doing as well as we should be. But I think that there's just as many other factors that we're not privy to that we just therefore ignore in the analysis. The reason why we're not playing well is because the players aren't good enough. Maybe the players are good enough, but they don't understand the instruction. Maybe the players are good enough, but they're tired. Maybe the players are good enough, but they don't know each other well enough. Maybe they're arguing backyard. That's nothing to do with their technical skill set. Maybe it's because they don't like each other. Maybe it's because the manager is playing favourites. Maybe it's because they, I don't know. Maybe there's been an argument because one of them pulled someone else's bird. Whatever. Factions, cliques. There's a never-ending list of potential reasons as to why the players are responsible, but it's not the players that their technical levels. It's their overall satisfaction of their environment. And in terms of the manager and the coaching staff, maybe they're good enough, but maybe they are slow burners. Maybe they're not good enough, and we picked the wrong guy. Or maybe the pressure of every single game being scrutinised by 25 million fans rather than the 3 million fans that Brentford have got. If Brentford has, I've said before, if Brentford lose 3 games on the bounce, no one's paying any attention. And he's been there 7 years. His job was never under threat. He's only not at Brentford now because he asked to leave. He wanted to leave. We had to pay compensation. He could have carried on winning 2, losing 1, losing 2, winning 1, drawing 3 on the bounce. And it wouldn't have mattered because there was no jeopardy of relegation and there was no real chance of silverware. It's a comfortable environment. Come to Tottenham, things are very different, especially when you have another factor, which has nothing to do with the squad, the players or the manager, but it's the expectations of the fans, which is what I've been saying to you guys since I started in this game. The artificially high expectations of the fans that were set because of a Black Swan event, which was Tottenham Hotspur getting to the Champions League final. And losing at the same time as moving into a new stadium and taking on £1 billion of debt. All of those factors are just as potentially responsible for why we are seeing what we're seeing, in my opinion. Let's see what the chat's saying. Let me do a couple of super chats, actually. Big up to Logan. Where are we? Where's the choo-choo train? There it is. First choo-choo noise. Choo-choo to you, Logan. Thank you very much indeed, my man. Thank you very much indeed. Do appreciate you, buddy. Thank you for the support. Sean the boss. Good afternoon, Thermostat Sean. Good afternoon, Thermostat Sean. Is that noise you're talking about? Is that what you're talking about? Because I turned it on and off, or is that something else I'm not understanding? Good afternoon, Thermostat Sean. Don't know. Big up to you, though, mate. Thank you very much indeed. Where are you in that picture, by the way? Is that like Australia or somewhere in like America where they've got cacti? Big up to Dean Lord, Chudini. Big up to you, mate. Choo to you. Choo to all in the chat. I hope that Stella in that Stella glass. No other drink should go in a Stella glass. It's sacred. It's not. I've not had any Stella for like 2 weeks. I'm trying to cut down on my alcohol intake because I'm on a bit of a weight loss thing, but I'm still drinking, you know. And so I'm now. I'm just having like 1 or 2 KTs a day, rather than a 4-pack of Stella and 2 KTs or whatever. It was a misspelling. Jesus Christ, Sean. Sitting there trying to figure out your mind, figure out what's going on there. Yeah, it's apple juice. It's apple juice. That's what we're going to call it from now on. It's just the juice, buddy. It's apple juice. Fermented apple juice. You're in the Rocky Mountains. Very cool, mate. Very, very cool. Hiccup's not a good sign. No, you know what it is? I feel like I've got horrendous acid reflux at the moment. I don't know why. I've got to take this daily medication called what's it called? I've got a hiatus hernia, so like my esophagus is like a little bit squeezed or pinched or something at the bottom. So sometimes when I chew too quickly or eat something too quickly, food gets stuck in my throat. Bloody uncomfortable. It's horrible. You have to sit there and like wait for gravity to take its toll, and then it figures itself out. But I've run out of the medication, and as a consequence, I get really bad acid reflux. So Not a good time for a diet or alcohol reduction, Mr. Butler. Doesn't really matter to me. Not omeprazole. Something like that though. What's it called? Lansoprazole. That's it. Lansoprazole. That's what I'm on. That's what I take. Lansoprazole. Yeah, doesn't do anything. All these medications are just there to make you feel like you're better, aren't they? What was I going to say to you guys? I was going to say to you, how about this? Let's move into some transfer news, views, and... that's what I'm going to say to you. Who's going to the game tomorrow? Stick a 1 in the chat if you're going, 0 if you're not. If you're going, then the Spurs community, or at least my side of it, I'm not speaking for everybody else, but just me and the guys in the Spurs in the WhatsApp group are going to be in the 8 bar from about 3:30 until obviously the game. So 3:30 till like 4:45 or 5 o'clock, whatever. And then after the game, I think we're going to be meeting up with Billy T as well. I'll be meeting up with Billy T either in the 8 bar again to start with, because it's right outside the ground, or up at the Blue Coats. So let me know if you are going to be there. Rain, you'll be there, mate. James, Richard, Brett, if you're going to be there, buddy. We should be meeting up in the number 8 bar. So outside the South Stand, as you walk back up towards Seven Sisters, it's like the first bar on the left hand, the first on the corner there, basically. Was going to go slip and coy, but not paying 200 for you and your wife. Don't take the wife then. We're going out drinking tomorrow night, slip and coy. Ticket for 1, please, sir. One way. That's all we need. You guys are all scared tomorrow. You guys are all scared. Let's pivot quickly to this, a couple of stories and the transfer news includes, and then we'll move into the Liverpool game. I actually think we've got, it's a 50-50 for me. Well, no, it's not 50-50. I've actually predicted 2-1 loss, so it's not 50-50. But I don't think we'll get hammered. They've got no Salah. They've got no Szoboszlai. They've got no Joe Gomez. They've got no Joe Gomez. They've got no Cody Gakpo. They've got like five or six players out that would be in their first team. So it's I don't know. I think we might have a chance. But let's talk about this player, right? So I wake up this morning to see the news that Newcastle United are advancing on a player that we were linked with in the summer. Really good player, really good right back. Let me get it up for you. His name's Sacha Boey, right? I don't know if you guys know Sacha Boey. He's basically surplus to requirements a little bit at the moment. He wants to go out and he doesn't want to necessarily leave Bayern Munich, but he wants to go out on loan to get more game time. And Newcastle United are like, yeah, we'll take you on loan if you want, but he's going to sit there and compete with Livramento. And look, I'll bring up his stats on the screen. I think he's a really good player. He's a nice attacking centre back, but he's very balanced, very disciplined defensively. He's kind of like a bit of a just like a, how do I say it? Would you call Anthony Robinson a slightly more offensively leaning fullback? I probably would, but he's definitely very good defensively. Same with like a Rico Henry. Sacha Boey's got legs for days. He's very, very pacey. He looks a little bit like Jed Spence as well. And he's got the long dreads and that. And he's a wonderful passer of the ball. And he can get back and tackles high up as well. Tackles high up in the final third. Let me see if I can bring the screen up here. And I'm not saying that Tottenham are linked with him. I'm just surprised that we're not linked with him. It's a really good player. Really, really good player. How do I get this on the screen? Here we go. Bosh. Let's have a look. So, passes attempted. This is versus fullbacks, right? Passes attempted in every game that he plays. 95th percentile, 70. The ball goes through him a lot. Obviously, you have to put this in the context of Bayern Munich and their high possession game and stuff. But 89 percentile for pass completion, which is 98th percentile, which is very, very high. Progressive passes, 96th percentile, 6.5 progressive passes a game. Touches in the attacking penalty area, 94th percentile. Progressive passes received, so he gets forward. He's more than happy to get forward, but don't think like he can't get back and defend, because he does. Obviously, he doesn't have to all the time in the Bayern Munich system, but he's a very, very clever player. His passing stats are phenomenal. Expected assists, 80th percentile. I've done the progressive passes. Pass completion, medium. Like to have a 90% pass completion of a medium length is very, very, very good for a fullback. Top 4 percentile. Pass attempted, short passes, 99th percentile, and completions up there, right up there as well. Lovely pass for the ball. Gets involved in the creation. And defensively, look, tackles in the attacking third. So high press, winning the ball back in the final third in transition. It says here that he only makes sort of one defense or less than one defensive tackle in the defensive third per game. Again, though, that's not baking in the context of it's Bayern Munich. It's Bayern Munich, right? So they're not going to be in that situation all that often. Really nice player, though. Really nice player. And when he has played, everything goes a lot of the football goes through him. Let me know your thoughts. I'm not saying that it's a priority. I'm just saying that to me, if he's not a player that improves us, then I don't know what is. And we definitely need a fullback to come in, ideally on the left-hand side, alongside a left-footed, left-sided centre-back. Someone like Piero Hincapié, by the way, would have been fantastic, wouldn't he? Would have been absolutely fantastic. To kill two birds with one stone. But if Jed Spence is going to be this petulant little brat, I genuinely think, I know this is going to sound a little bit like counterintuitive, but you have to nip it in the bud with Jed Spence. He threw his shirt on the ground, allegedly. I haven't seen it. It's not good enough for me. It's not good enough. But you can't really drop him right now because we only have him and Pedro Porro that are fit and Ben Davies off the bench. Unless you wanted to kind of really go out on a weird one and put Micky van der Ven at left back and then bring Kevin Danso in. But then, we'll talk about this in a minute, but obviously Ekitike is very quick. They've got some really quick players in Chiesa that's going to play off the left probably for Liverpool. And maybe players like Curtis Jones also can run, and he's a big, strong guy. So it's going to be, obviously, Florian Wirtz, right? So you might find situations tomorrow where you do need a centre-back to be able to get us out of trouble, and that obviously would be Micky van der Ven. Although Romero absolutely smashed Ekitike in the Frankfurt game last season away from home, kept him very quiet. And so, to me, I feel like there is there's probably a rationale to sit there and say, like, you've got to play Micky van der Ven at left-sided centre-back. But I definitely think that you have to nip it in the bud. I don't think that Thomas Frank has kind of earned the respect of some of these players. I think he's actually being visually disrespected, which I think, again, as I go back to that point I said in my opening monologue, I think that if you're only seeing the things that you can see look bad, imagine and it's like petulance and just bad energy and poor behavior. What does that look like on the training ground? What does that look like in the dressing room? What does that look like when they're talking to each other? We've seen Pedro Porro have moments of poor visual activity. We've certainly seen it from Micky van der Ven. We've seen it from Jed Spence twice. We've seen it from Destiny Udogie. We've seen Vicario having arguments. And I think that these things are, a lot of that has to come from, not having first of all, a coherent, clear, concise game plan. But also, I don't think Thomas Frank has earned the respect. I think he's a nice guy. And nice guys finish last, So, yeah, Ange had the team on board. They all bought in until they were pissed off with the fact that there was no defensive element to their strategy, Melbourne. And then, obviously, we know now for a fact, even though I brought it to your attention way back, was it April or something, or May? Just after the Champions League final, but we I think we started talking about it beforehand, because I remember the kind of rumor started immediately after the final. But I remember thinking this happened before, where you saw Romero do that to Ange Postecoglou in the final and in the previous game. I think it was against it might have been Bodo or it might have been Frankfurt. I think it was Frankfurt where he did that, and we went to a back five in the end. And I'm like, okay, again, if the players are telling the manager what the tactics should be, this harks back to my belief that Ange Postecoglou was a complete fraud in his actual tactical engineering. He might have been able to put the right words in the right order to motivate players, and sometimes that's enough in certain games if you've got enough talent. But ultimately, if you're sitting there waiting for a signal from the team to tell you to make the change, then that speaks massive volumes. And so again, I'll go back to this notion: if you're sitting there and saying the reason why I'm justifying that the players aren't good enough because last year we finished 17th, that's assuming that the players were only capable of 17th last year. And it's completely overlooking the fact that the manager played a desirable style of football that every manager in world football would like to play if they could, but they don't, because they know that their players, like that, those sorts of things get completely uncovered and found out very quickly. And like, there's not a single manager in world football that wants to play defensive part the bus football. The ones that do it because they need to keep in their job, stay in their job. And they figure out the supremacy between them and the opposition. They do the SWOT analysis. They figure out where is the weaknesses that they can exploit in the other team, and the weaknesses in their own team that they would expect the other team to try to exploit. It's game theory. It's like in poker, right? You either play game theory optimal or you play exploitative tactics. You either understand the math, you've read the book, you've done all the solvers, and you sit there and you bash around on your keyboard all day long, trying to memorize what the maths would tell you to do in certain situations. Or if you're doing live games, then you understand the player that you're playing against and you try to take advantage of the weaknesses that you believe that you found in their system or in their way of playing, their tells, so to speak. Exploitative or game theory. And hopefully you do a combination of both. The best do a combination of both. But in football, I don't know what we weren't doing either with Ange. We weren't looking to exploit anybody else. We just thought we were going to play our way and that was it, which made us open to being exploited. And we weren't really game theory optimal either. We weren't playing, exquisite, excellent football, and we couldn't be because we didn't have players to be able to. We weren't the best team in the league by a country mile, which would allow you to just do that. And everybody else was worried about stopping you. Under Thomas Frank, I think there's an element of the SWOT analysis. I think there's an element of, but it's not so much exploitative football in terms of we're looking at them and thinking, how can we hurt them? I think we spend all of our, for the most part this season, we spent all of our time trying to figure out how they're going to hurt us and being entirely consumed with that. That's what I believe anyway. That's what I believe. It's just my opinion. What's the chat saying? That's what I'm doing. Big up to you, Sava. Thank you for the raid, my man. Big up to you, buddy. Big up to you, Bod. Ghost is in the house. Big up, Shawnee. Big up to you, Ghosted. A tactical fraud that won trophies everywhere he went. Yeah, but where did he go? He went to places where he had a supremacy in his squad, at least in European football, right? At Celtic, he did. I think he was a tactical fraud. I think he was a great man manager. I think he could motivate players, but I don't think he had any concept of a plan B. I don't think and when he did, he had to go and ask for help from his team, from the players, which to me is like just mind-bogglingly bad to see a Premier League manager that's getting paid £7 million a year have to wait to be told. I always said this to you guys about Ange, and you can disagree with me. I'm not saying it's a fact. I'm just saying it's my opinion. But from very early on in the Ange Postecoglou days, I recognized that he had this kind of framework of how he played football. This is how we do it, right? We play out from the back. We always look to progress if we can. We take risks and we move and we enjoy our football. But how that looks, that's over to you guys. That's over to you guys on the pitch to figure that out. Which some people could say, well, that's empowerment management. I used to have a manager, right? I used to have a manager in when I worked in America. He was the best manager I ever had, and then he got moved to a different division, and then this other guy took his place. And I phoned him up. I said, look, we've got a massive problem with this campaign, client, whatever. I need you to kind of expedite and scale this up through the ranks of communication. We need someone to figure this out. He said, okay, cool. Well, I'm glad you've identified the problem. I think this is something that you can handle for yourself. So I'm giving you the power. I'm giving you take it from here. And I was like, okay. And I started to ask questions about that to people. I said, "Do you know this guy?" Because they've been working there for a long time, and they said, "Oh yeah, he's an empowerment manager. He empowers you to find the solution." I said, "That's really cool. That's really cool." Although it does to me sound like that's just another way of saying I don't really want to do anything. You know, I'm empowering you means just I'm not going to do anything. I'm lazy little fuck. And he was the worst manager I've ever had in my life. He was so bad, and it's just a spin. He was a spin doctor. You know, he would still take all the credit, but he wouldn't actually lift a finger. And I think that, you know, people that are very good management, people that are able to motivate you through the right words in the right order, that only works if you buy into them. It only works if you believe in it. If you're handing over the accountability, if you're abdicating the responsibility to create specific and measurable tactics on the pitch, other than just a framework in which the 11 players can figure it out, then you're not really doing very much. You know, you're in fact, you're limiting the players by saying, do what you want, but you have to do it this particular way. You might as well just say, do what you want, and then at least they can figure it out for themselves. So I wasn't a big fan of Ange Postecoglou's tactics, but I was very impressed with his ability to spin a yarn, 100%. 100%. But when I heard that he had basically asked for the signal, the trigger, I was like, oh, that entirely fits what I believe his profile is. Completely out of his depth tactically at this level, but probably one of the best people that you would want to motivate you before a final ever. You know he's going. You know you're going to have goosebumps on your neck when he says what he says, as long as you haven't already lost all respect for the fact that he's getting paid a fortune and doesn't in any way, shape, or form think about opposition threats, spend time looking at the tape, have a tweak, plan B, all those things. Whereas Thomas Frank, for me, I don't think he can motivate a fucking like anything. I don't. I wouldn't want him to be giving the pre-match press conference or the pre-match speech. You know, yeah, guys, you know, really important game. Yeah, it's good. You have to try. Yeah, I mean, good. Like, fuck, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? I'm still working on that impression, by the way. I know it's a little bit raw. But you know, I'm not far away. I need to get Drew Ziller on it. It was a little bit cloppy as well. I know it's a little bit cloppy. I know. Yeah, it's a little bit, not just cloppy, a little bit Schwarzenegger. Get to the chopper. Yeah. I'm gonna listen. It won't take me long. I will nail that accent. Have another drink and try again, Susie. Yeah, Susie's up. We'll be up to you, Susie. Yeah, it's abject bad. Really not good enough, but I'm working on it. You know, it's not that bad. Sound like Michael Van Gerben. At least he knows how to fucking win, though, Sava. At least he knows how to win. That was, yeah, it was a little bit Arnie, wasn't it? It was a little bit Arnie. Oh, fucking hell. It's the second time I brought it. I haven't worked on it. I should have kept it in the locker, really, shouldn't I? It's like that back three model that we tried against Arsenal for 45 minutes. It wasn't ready yet. Put it back in the oven. She ain't done. Jesus Christ, Butler. I'm so eager sometimes to bring something out to your attention. I've got like a new jingle or something that there's no need for it yet. There's no reason to show it to you, but I'm so excited about it that I have to play it anyway, and then completely spoil the surprise. Anyway. So yeah, back to the point. Right, back to the point. I don't believe that it's all about the visible factors, and if you think it is, then all you have to work with on who you blame are the players' performances and the manager's decisions around tactics or substitutions, those sorts of things, or ability to say the right words in a press conference. I think there's a lot of other things going on. As I've said for ages, I think the confidence in the team is horrendous. I think the understanding of what's expected isn't clear. I think the energy around the football club is poor. I think the expectations are a problem. I think there's no clear identity, like framework around what it is we're trying to achieve. Obviously, there's been some bad signings, but again, you know, if we're looking at last season and saying, look, we finished 17th that last year. Therefore, it's the players because we're still not that much better. Last season, we had a guy went to Forest this year and completely unravelled everything that Nuno had done the year before. And then Sean Dyche came in and has taken them back up to a steadier place, right? So the managers are important. Managers are important. Oh, we've got a man. We've got a man's coming on the stream I haven't seen for ages. Hello, mate. Hi, Adam. How you doing?
Not too bad, mate. I finished my last day of work for the Christmas holiday. I'm flying off to Brazil on the 27th. I am delighted with myself. How are you getting on?
Oh, good. You're delighted with yourself. Oh, give yourself a pat on the back. Nice. Good, mate.
With a nice holiday.
How's things, mate? How's life's good? Yeah.
Life's good in general. A bit of a transition period in various aspects of my life, so it's sort of it's exciting. I tend not to get nervous. I get excited, which is good. It's a good way to live. But as far as Tottenham is concerned, mate, I don't know. I kind of have I almost have the football at arm's length right now. You know what I mean? I don't want it to ruin my holiday. I don't want it to ruin my experience of the Christmas. I'm hopeful for January. But right now, I couldn't care less about tomorrow. I don't know how you feel. I really couldn't care less. I feel so detached from the team. Yeah, I'm not. Yes, I'm kind of with you. It's just because I already feel like there's nothing to play for in the season. Like I genuinely think that, you know, we're not going to obviously win the Champions League. I think that the FA Cup we're probably going to struggle against Villa. You know, either way. You know, I don't think that Villa are so good right now. Kills me to say it, but they're so good at home and away that it'll be very surprising if we come away with that particular result there. If we go back to Villa, I think there's a replay. If it's a draw, I don't think it's a one. I think there's a replay in the third round. If there is, and we go back to Villa Park, I don't expect us. So on that basis, then then you've just got the league, right? And then the league we're like we win one, lose two, draw one, win one. We've got 5 points out of the last 15 in the league, and I don't see it manifesting. So like it's an unusual feeling to have nothing to, in my mind, nothing to play for by Christmas. Yeah, absolutely. Because I was saying this back when I felt like we genuinely bottled the Newcastle game in the Carabao Cup, and I understand that people there was a lot of pushback when I was saying in our group that you still need to prioritize the league. I get that you do have to prioritize the league. It makes sense. The Champions League allows us to have a greater draw for bigger players, and it makes more money for us at the end of the day. Fine, I get it, but we've got a taste for trophies. Let's push for another one. Let's at least be in a competition until the end. I agree with you. The FA Cup, highly unlikely. Premier League and Champions League, you're not going to win a thing. So, what have we got to look forward to? What have we got to look forward to at all? And the other thing I felt personally, I would rather accept kind of what you've been saying for the last while in terms of we're a good cup team that now have changed our expectations because we got to a Champions League final, and now we're not happy to just chase cups anymore. We have to be at a level that it's not actually who we are yet. It's not who we are, and so I want to go out and I want to get another cup, and I just feel as well that there's a polarity in the fandom because of who we're blaming for this as well. And I stick to the fact that I think Frank is a woeful manager, man. I think it's not the players. And I know you were talking there about Jed Spence, and okay, if he threw his jersey down, I don't appreciate that. But I honestly think that I wouldn't blame the players who could be definitely performing much better than we're performing at the moment if they think it's all Frank's fault and they're getting frustrated with him and they think they're too good for him, because they are too good for him. And Jed Spence is definitely too good for him. Jed Spence is an absolute class fullback, man. I honestly, I think he's one of the best players in our team, and he deserves a better quality of manager. So I don't blame him getting a little bit disgruntled. And I mean, he is young, so I mean, he's going to be a bit petulant. But when you are playing at that level and you know that you're better than what the results are because your manager is a disgrace, and he is, I'm sorry, Frank sucks. So I would actually give Jed Spence a lot of room in the current situation where there's doubt over his personality. I think that if I was in that team, I don't know them.
His personality though, Adam, is there's been lots of question marks about that ever since we signed him. Like there's been, and like on the one hand, he's got resilience because he got, people spin it however they want to see it, right? And we hadn't really seen much of him. He come to Tottenham from Forest. He didn't play. Conte threw him under the bus on his arrival day, saying it was a club signing. It wasn't a me signing. He then gets farmed out on loan. When he comes back, he finally gets a chance. He takes it with both hands. People are like, there you go, good for you. Then all of a sudden, as soon as Udogie came back in, he got dropped again, and Ange tried to take credit for all of that. Like, there's a hell of a lot of like reasons to look at his wherewithal and saying you definitely got a lot of self-belief and bounce back ability, and you're not letting these like things hold you down or hold you back. But then there's the other side of him, which is clearly a bit moody, clearly a little bit like entitled. And as I say, mate, like if you're willing to do that stuff visually, where you're walking off the pitch when your manager tells you otherwise, and you don't give a shit, and then if it's true, I still haven't seen it, but people are saying that his shirt was thrown. The last guy that did that was Hossam Ghali, and he never played for Tottenham again, and he got booed. I think it was under Harry Redknapp, wasn't it? Harry Redknapp went to bring him on the pitch as a substitute, and the players booed.
Where did he throw it though? Where did Jed Spence throw the shirt? Was it on the pitch?
No, down the tunnel, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think like I try to think about it in terms of like, are they justified in their indignation? You know, like is there a justification for why they're behaving the way they're behaving? If there isn't a justification, that's where I'm like, okay, you're wrong and you're a child. But if he's right, I think he's right. You know, like if he's got a problem with Frank, I've got a problem with Frank. I think Frank is absolutely woeful. So because I think it's justified, I'm sure he didn't. It wasn't like he threw the jersey on the ground and stood on the badge, I assume. So I don't know.
Well, no,
I just think.
I don't think there's any footage of it. But if there was footage of it, I think that he should be. Either way, I still. I personally, I'm not sure I'm with you in that he's a class act in terms of a player. I think he's a decent player. I think he's capable. I think he's very fast. I think his passing lets him down. I don't believe he's ever struck up a relationship with anybody in his life in Tottenham's team. When he's played on the right hand side or the left back position, he's never had a relationship where people understand him and he understands them. And I think that's like it sort of speaks to reason. His best asset is his one-on-one ability defensively, because that's just a thing where he has to just do his job. And I think that when he looks good with the ball, he carries the ball out, running it into space and things, and that can look great. I think at the moment we've got a lot of players that are trying to do that sort of thing too much, but his passing's a little bit wayward, and I don't necessarily think he's on the same wavelength as anybody. Think back to like Matt Doherty, right? When we had Matt Doherty playing right back in January of 2022, I guess it was. And then on the last, no one wanted Matt Doherty. Everyone was like, "Oh, he's Donkety or whatever." Everyone was like, "He's no good." And then Kulusevski comes in, and we were playing under Conte, right? And that we were playing in the back three, and Matt Doherty just immediately connected with Decky. Immediately, they just understood each other, and they were unbelievable, unplayable for about 2 or 3 months until we went to Villa. And then Matty Cash chopped him down, and then he was out for a long time. But I think he was very much not responsible, but very much a significant part of a contribution to why we finished fourth that year under Conte.
But you don't think that Spence doesn't have anybody like Spence for us at the moment is a left winger, and I think he's great there. To be honest, he's always played incredibly on the left wing, and he doesn't have a relationship with a good player. Like we're all crying out for a left winger, so he needs to have a relationship with someone that we don't have yet. So I'd still like to see if we brought in a Semenyo.
He's played with Sonny. He's played with Sonny on the left wing, and didn't strike up a relationship.
He's played with the Sonny who was past his prime. He was ready to get put out faster. He didn't play with top.
Listen, well, I mean, Pedro Porro connects with everybody in front of him. And it doesn't matter who the guy is on the right hand side. If it's Mohamed Kudus, Porro knows Kudus is going to get the ball and not pass the ball unless he absolutely has to, which is a problem. But Porro sort of fills that role then, right? He goes, I'll throw the ball up to you, and then I'll hang back. You can take the player on, and then if you need me as an outlet, I'm 10 yards behind you, and you pass it back, and I'll whip it in first time into the box. And if Porro's crossing's on point, then value can be derived from that. I think that Destiny Udogie has forged some level of a relationship with Odebear. I think when Odebear was playing and Odebear started to show some promise, I know people don't like the fact that Odebear's not a take-on guy like Kudus is, at least at the start of the season, but Odebear was more than happy to kind of play second fiddle and connect the dots, almost like a 10 on the left, and allow him to do 1-2s with Udogie. And so there was promise down the left-hand side, but it required Udogie and Odebear to be on the pitch at the same time. Xavi Simons hasn't connected with anybody at the left-hand side. I just think that Jed Spence hasn't, on in 2-3 years, and on both sides of the pitch, I can't tell you one person that I think he has a relationship with. And I think that comes down to the sort of person that he might be.
I get that your argument is about chemistry, and that's fine. But I do see, I think that there's been plenty of occasion when Jed Spence has bombed forward, and he's had great little kind of put through balls in for various players, including Xavi Simons. I think when he's at the top of the pitch, he does do his best to contribute. And when he's in his own, his own zone, he's in his element when he's in our third, and he's just absolutely bossing whatever winger is coming down his way. I get that your argument is about chemistry, but Udogie is not our best left back. Spence is, and Odebear is not good enough to play. So, I get that you mean what you mean by chemistry, but you can't have. You
think Jed Spence is better than Udogie?
Yeah, I do. Yes, and I also think it's important. Like you say yourself, one of the best abilities. I don't know what order you put it in, but one of the best abilities is availability. And Udogie is not available often enough. He's also
availability is the best ability. Unpredictability is the second best ability. That's my order. Yeah.
Okay. It's up there. But my point is though, I've always and I think if you go back through our chat in the WhatsApp group, you'll see that I have always been a huge detractor of Udogie. I don't think he's I was so excited to when we were waiting for him to come from Udinese, I was really excited to see him come to the team, and I was so disappointed because I don't rate Udogie at all. Either we've never used him to the best of his ability, or he's not a good football player, and we were sold a bill of goods because I've never rated him. And I think that Spence speaks for himself. As an actual defender, the guy is brilliant. And then when he goes forward, he actually does contribute as well. I think if he had scored that goal that he had the opportunity for a few weeks ago, I think that would have accelerated him to a whole other level as well. I think it would have boosted his confidence going forward. But I think he's our best left back. And I think that if we get if we had someone like a Semenyo coming in, I think you would see a relationship form if they were the bet on players on the left side of the pitch.
But it's a fair argument that there's not quality in front of him that also knows how to work.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think the players are capable of a lot more than what we're seeing. Much more. I'm not on the Sava train. Sorry, Sava, I'm not throwing you under the bus, but I'm just saying I need to use someone as an example.
I'm not the same time as him either. I think that's I love Sava to pieces. I think he spends too much time thinking about just the players and not enough on the manager for me.
It's so wrong. I'm sorry. Even Ash posted in the group earlier on as well about Richalison, in terms of strikers that are out.
Oh, we lost him in a interesting face.
We should be significantly higher up the table than we are, and the fault is down to the management. It's very, very clear to see the way we're playing, the way we're setting up. I don't mind that people saying that we didn't want defensive football anymore, and when we stopped playing defensive football, we started losing more games. It's okay, but I thought Frank was the professor. This is what we were told. Frank is supposed to be able to know exactly how to get the best out of our team, to analyze the opposition, to play, to our strengths and to their weaknesses. And we've seen none of that from apart from the Super Cup final.
Yeah. His internet's a nightmare. Oh, is he back? He's back. You there, mate?
Sorry,
you there?
Did you lose me?
Yeah, your internet's
Yeah,
dropped out.
I'll hop off in a second. Maybe the internet's crap. I'll hop off in a second. But no, my point was just the last point I said was, if you brought in a De Zerbi or a Xavi Hernandez, you would see the team change overnight, because they actually know what they're doing, and Frank has no clue.
Who was the first name you said? Xavi Hernandez and who?
I think De Zerbi as well. De Zerbi would do would be a massive improvement on Frank. I don't think he's perfect, but I think it'd be an improvement on Frank.
De Zerbi to me is chaos. Right, it's absolute chaos, and I think as a content creator, it would be fucking brilliant. There'd be so much to talk about.
yeah.
I don't know. Sure. I don't know whether or not like his. He plays a very unique style of football. I don't know really if you could even compare him to someone else. That the version of football that he's doing at Marseille is very, very specific, very unique. It's not gung ho like Angie's was. It's kind of cult. I don't know what the right word is. It's just a unique sort of brand of his identity that is aggressive and expansive, but it's just sort of different iterations that I think would be really interesting to work with. However, the guy is a lunatic. He's a lunatic. And so, I think that there would be like never-ending amounts of uproar, never-ending amounts of potential arguments and fights, and all sorts of things that will come. I'm on board it though. Are you still there, Adam, or have you disappeared? I thought he was patiently listening, but he's not. He's he's disappeared. Oh, there he goes. I thought he was listening to me. He's not listening. He's just frozen in it with a Zoolander expression. Yeah, Patch. I don't know. I think he'd be hilarious. It'd be so much fun to talk about all the time. But I don't know if we're kind of in the right. I don't know if we're really in the right sort of space right now for someone like him. I also, by the way, as much as I don't rate Thomas Frank at all, I've made myself very clear on this. At the moment, I just don't. I think that sacking him creates more problems than it solves, with regards our transfer plans, with regards our ability to attract, with regards our just the kind of impression that the club looks like to anybody, including managers that would want to come in. It would also, cost a fortune to get rid of him, which would come out of our budget. It would cost a fortune to get the next guy in. Wrong time of year to be doing it. You can't do it 2 weeks before the January transfer window opens. So, for me, as much as I'd like, I think he gets a reprieve because of circumstance. If it was in March right now and the season was effectively dead, which is where I think we will be in March anyway, then I would say you might as well get rid of him, put in a temporary or whatever, and wait till the end of the season, go and get Poch. I agree with Poch that he'll come to Tottenham after the World Cup so that he knows what he's coming into, and then he can, whilst he's, I don't know what international managers do day to day, right? Like they don't do a lot, do they? They probably play a lot of golf and stuff. So during the weeks leading up to and immediately after the World Cup, he could be in the conversations with the various people at Tottenham Hotspur and sort of getting prepared for a future version of Tottenham that we don't know has Pochettino officially yet, but that ultimately will have. So you can still do that work behind the scenes. But I think that sacking Thomas Frank right now is just absolutely, it just doesn't help anything, doesn't solve anything. And so for me, like I don't rate him. I don't believe in him. I think he's got a lot of work in front of him to prove a lot of people wrong that are of that impression, of the same impression that Adam is. But it doesn't have to be Poch, by the way. I'm just saying he's just an example. It could be, there'll be lots of managers that will become available from the international scene after the World Cup. And that's the other reason why it's probably better to wait. Him getting that kind of that stay of execution, that kind of backing, the unofficial backing that we read through The Athletic. I think a lot of that is probably because if you're smart and you're strategic right now, whoever it is that's thinking about these things, whether it's Vinay, whether it's Lang or Parati, whoever it is that's making those decisions and thinking, is Thomas Frank the right guy? Just because there's been like a kind of, we're backing you, like we're going to see how this goes. There's no, your job's not at risk. It doesn't mean that they haven't landed on the conclusion that he's not the right guy, but it's just that the market will become a lot more moist, a lot more juicy around July. You know, there'll be lots of managers, whether they do well or otherwise in the World Cup, that will become available because they're not. There's always a massive transition of management in the post World Cup sequence, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't have the conversations with their representatives now or over the next few months and say, you know, can we essentially lock you down and look, we won't sign anything yet, but this is the plan, this is the thing, yada yada yada. What sort of players do you need? And we'll go looking for it now, so that in the summer we can go in that direction, whatever. So I don't believe he'll be sacked unless things get absolutely abject. I was about to go into another Thomas Frank impression there, but you've already proven to me that I'm not in the I'm not quite prepared enough for my Thomas Frank impression. So that's my homework for the rest of the afternoon. What are we saying? He might be the guy before the guy before the guy. Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, you know, I think when I said the guy before the guy thing, I think I probably was, first and foremost, I don't know, was Ange the guy in the end anyway? Because he did win us a trophy. So maybe I was wrong about that. But I could also have been wrong just on the idea that this youth-centric approach that was supposed to be, you know, starting to see the green shoots of the grassroots. Maybe it takes longer for these things to play out than I initially thought. You know, I think what do they say? People underestimate what you can achieve in a short period of time, but overestimate. No, wait. They overestimate what they can achieve in a short period of time, but they underestimate what they can achieve in a medium period of time. So maybe the whole youth-based approach won't flourish or thrive if these guys are even good enough. By the way, they won't thrive until the sort of 29 season or something. We shall see. We shall see. Let's big up to Adam though for coming on. Obviously, his internet collapsed. Oh, you want to come on? Sav wants to pop on. Okay. Oh, we're going to carry on then. We're going to carry on. Where is he? There he is. He's already done a fucking 3-hour stream this morning, or whatever it was, 2.5, 3 hours. Sava wants in. Sava gets what Sava wants. Sava gets what Sava wants. There we go. Show me proof you want to be ambitious and start pouring the 14 players that shouldn't be here. Start putting the 14 players that shouldn't be here up for sale for starters, yeah. FFS. Yeah, but is there not a chance? Like, everyone suddenly is like, Porro's shit. Porro's not good enough. Porro was very good. He's wanted by Manchester City, by the way. Right? Van der Ven's wanted by Real Madrid. Romero was wanted by Atletico Madrid in the summer. You know? Polinia. Everyone wanted Polinia. Xavi. Everybody wanted Xavi. Kudus. Everyone was happy when we got Kudus. For me, the notion that, you know, we've only got 2 permanent signings, even though 2 of them are loans, I think that's just, again, sort of finessing the argument. They're still playing full-time at Tottenham at the moment. They might not be here on a full-term contract, but they're not. It's not like they're not playing in the team. We got 4 players in our team this summer that immediately came into the first 11. You know? And everyone was okay with all of them. Everybody was okay with all of them when they signed. So there's a little bit of Monday morning quarterbacking going on, I think. Porro's never been very good. Come on now. It's not true. He's never been a fantastic defender, right back, but he's a right wing back, right? He was a right wing back that was immediately, as soon as he came in, Conte was sacked and we went to a back 4. But like, he's one of the best passing fullbacks in the game. Like, stats are there to prove it. And in fact, at the start of the season, there was all the stats. He was number 1 for everything. Number 1 for absolutely everything. For tacklers faced, for tacklers for dribblers tackled, for dribblers faced, for long ranges, for passes, for crosses. He was number 1 for everything. It starts to there's a template that's definitely emerged because all the teams know how to attack him. And obviously he needs help. You play a back 3 and he doesn't have the same sort of concerns. We haven't played a back 3. We tried it once for 45 minutes against Arsenal and we never saw it again. We tried it in the Super Cup, but that was it. So again, you know, we have to sort of bake into the consideration here. Are we utilising the players as best we can? I think the answer is no. If we're going to have conversations around are certain players ready, like Berghvall's or Sarr's, whatever, I completely agree. Completely agree. But I think the two things can be true at the same time.
Mm.
Sava!
Adam Cahill. Adam Cahill.
Who said Adam Cahill?
I'm saying Adam Cahill.
Adam William Cahill. Oh, sorry.
I'm meant to believe from Adam Cahill, who tells the world that Richarlison is a top striker. I'm meant to believe him on who is a good footballer and who's not. Nah. Sorry, Adam. Absolute waffle. This is a guy that wants a team of Richarlisons. Nah. Sorry, mate.
Adam, if you're still watching, you still got the link, my man. If you get yourself to a better Wi-Fi, you can come in and have a debate with Sava on it.
I mean, look, again, talk about, listen, again, I think we go to extremes. Like, Jed Spence is a good fullback when he's on it. But, like, talking about he's a class act. No, he's not a class act. This is a guy that, let's be fair, by the age of 25, he's never really settled and had a first-team place anywhere.
Yeah.
If that's a class act, then I worry about what we want. But yeah, no, mate, listen, I've been listening. You make some good points. We don't agree on everything. I think you've made loads of good points. But
yeah, I think you make good points as well. But I listen, you wouldn't be as popular as you are, mate, if you were not saying things that were hitting home. I personally just believe that if we own, I won't repeat it too much, but it's just if we're only looking at the things that we like, the known knowns, if you like. I'm not going to pull it. Shall I pull it out just quickly? If you're only going to look at the known knowns of what's happening, then you have binary options of how you want to allocate the accountability, right? But I personally think that there are a lot of things that are the kind of invisible side that we're not going to have access to, like the confidence in the team, the understanding, the happiness. Is it a happy dressing room? Are they friends? Are there cliques? Are there arguments, squabbles? Are the players settled? Do they like Thomas Frank? Do they trust Thomas Frank? Has Thomas Frank got the kind of, having gone from a motivational manager to a fucking wet lettuce of a guy, like is the tactical side improvements, is that enough for people to go in the team going, I prefer him to Ange, at least I understand what he wants, even if he couldn't motivate, a piss up in a brewery. I don't know. That's not even a phrase, but you understand what I mean. I don't know. I think those things are. Yeah, it's a terrible.
Sounds fun. I want to piss up in a brewery. That's what my Friday needs. A piss up in a brewery.
When you walk into a pub and everyone's like going this, like the guys in The Simpsons, the guys in Moe's Tavern, they're all sitting there just like drinking their beer. Whereas you walk in a pub going, da, 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 da. You're gonna have a better time. Ange Postecoglou is the darts drinking, and Thomas Frank is the guy in the local pub on a Friday night.
But doesn't this all feed into again that like what are we? What are we, and what have we been for decades? I just don't know. I know obviously as YouTubers we go on and we give our opinion, whatever, but I genuinely don't know the answer. I don't think any of us know the answer. We've all got an idea on who's the right manager, what's the right style of football. I think there's so much wrong that needs to be righted. And I'm not saying Frank's the right man to do that. I'm not saying he's the wrong man to do that. I don't know De Zerbi is like you. I like De Zerbi as a manager, but I think I think the whole club would blow up from the inside out even more. Some people think De
Zerbi would be fucking fun though, wouldn't he? De Zerbi would be fun.
Really fun. I love listen, I have no problem if De Zerbi was the manager of Tottenham, but I'll say the same thing that I say for any manager. At some stage, we've got to back them. And at some stage, we're going to need patience. And at some stage, we're going to have to get better footballers if we want to get back to where we were. So I don't think there's one wrong and one right. And I think when we WhatsApped earlier, I won't go into our full conversation, Sean. But I think the one sentence you sent me, what I thought was absolutely right, was the ego's got to ego. We seem so set right now on, I was right about this player. I was right about that manager. I was right about that. At the end of the day, this isn't on one manager, one player, one owner, this is an amalgamation of everything's just been all up in the air for years. Different directors of football, scouts, managers, players, directors of football, owners. And we're now in a position where there's no calm, Sean. And at some stage, and I get it, I know as football fans, we don't want calm, but there's going to have to be, whether it's Frank, whether it's De Zerbi, whether it's Glasner. Brendan Rodgers, by the way, is third favourite for the job. Just putting that out there for all those that want Frank sack. That would be fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's another side grade, isn't it?
Well, so yeah, I don't know the answer, mate. I don't profess to knowing the answer. If anyone actually watches my show, I don't profess to knowing the answer. I don't profess that Frank is the guy, but you have to ask yourself the question, for what? Like, what's the short, medium, and long-term plan at Tottenham? If it's to win titles, no one's the guy because we're not anywhere near it. So I just like,
let me ask this: if Pep Guardiola came to Tottenham,
he
or,
quit in a month.
or Jurgen Klopp,
yeah.
What did you say? Or you quit? Did you say,
I said he quit in a month. Yeah,
he quit in a month. But if Pep or Jurgen came to Tottenham tomorrow,
yeah,
where do you? Or let's say he came in the summer. He had a full preseason. He still got the 4 players that we got, right, and everything else has been the same. Injuries have been the same, etc. Where do you think we would be in the process, in the league,
It's tough because if you look when Man City aren't doing well, they're really wide open. If you actually look at Man City in general, they're quite wide open as a football club. And they get away with it because they have most of the ball in games and they're very good at keeping it. But then when they lose it, they look like they conceded 4 to Fulham in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
We would be playing, or we would be attempting to play better football. I just genuinely don't think the players would be capable of it. I think that he'd get more time, obviously, because his name's Pep Guardiola, and he'd be attempting to play the way the fans want to see. But ultimately, he'd be in that chairman's room going, right, I need 2 fullbacks. I need 3 centre mid. I need a striker. I need a centre. I need a goalkeeper that can play.
But so let me pivot then. If Ange Postecoglou took over at Manchester City, do you think Manchester City would be winning titles?
No.
Right.
No, I don't. I don't think. I think people really underestimate with top managers like with the likes of Pep and with the likes of Klopp. I think there's this ability. Yes, it's the players, but it's this ability to get these top players to run for you week in, week out and run through brick walls, to be happy sitting on the bench, to be happy being rotated. And to get that out of them week in, week out, you need a special type manager. And that's what Pep is, right? Pep is a leader of men. He's a special manager.
But he has never managed a team that was not at the top, ever. He's only had Barcelona and Man City. That's it, right? Am I wrong?
Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich.
Yeah, sorry.
That's what you get. But that's like saying, right? That's like if you take the player version of what we just said for the manager, that's like saying, why has Lionel Messi never played for Southampton? When you are the best, you are at the best. That's just
but how do they know he was going to be the best before he was the best?
Because of what he implemented in the Barcelona academy, and then people have got to remember the Barcelona he picked up isn't the Barcelona he left.
Yeah, that's true.
And,
yeah.
And
that's true.
When he first went into Barcelona, so when they promoted him from Barcelona B into Barcelona A, this is the man that started getting rid of top footballers. This man ripped out top footballers that any other club in the world would want and went, I'm replacing with this youth player. I'm replacing with that. And it's not that he just won. He created arguably the greatest team the world's ever seen, arguably, depending on what you like. He created arguably the greatest team the world's ever seen that formed 7 or 8 of the Spain team that went on to win 3 tournaments in a row. So because of that, he's never gonna leave and only be offered a job at.
No, Celtic. I get that. Once he's proven it at Barcelona, then he's only going to get there. I hear that. I definitely hear that. Let me let's talk about something because obviously me and you talk every day. But there's a specific character in the Tottenham hierarchy that I don't think has been spoken about that much recently, and yet he essentially is the bridge, or these 2 people are the bridge between what the manager is, what he has, and what he gets to work with, and that's Paratici and Johan Lang. Right? I know we spoke about them. We always seem to speak about them during the windows, but never during the season.
Yeah,
and. I work a lot with Johnny, right, who waxes lyrical on Paratici, and as does Dave Irish, right? They call him the Don. Do you think there's been a reflection of, and I'm going to have to ask you this question, and I won't be able to hear the answer because someone's at my door. In fact, can you talk about something else for 2 seconds? And
Yeah, sure. I'll talk about whatever. Yeah. I see a lot of people in the chat are mentioning Klopp. I think we'd all agree that we would love a Jurgen Klopp. But I also do think that with a Jurgen Klopp, he would have a bit of a shock coming to Tottenham Hotspur. So I'm not against, as I've always said, I'm not against managers leaving and managers coming in. But if you bring in a Klopp, he's going to need many, many years and many, many transfer windows to really rip out this squad and start again. But apparently didn't Klopp say that he wasn't open to another Premier League club other than Liverpool? I know those things can change, but apparently that's what Klopp said, right? I don't know. Sorry, as you were. I filled in with a bit of Klopp. Go on.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so in your opinion, is Fabio Paratici the guy to identify the players if we do suddenly have 200 million quid to spend or 150 in January? Is him and Lang the right combo?
Sean, you're asking someone here who doesn't rate our squad, right? And in the last 5-6 years, this squad has been put together by Paratici and Lang. So I have got serious question marks over both. I've got serious question marks over Paratici. Lots of people talk about, have you noticed when they bring up most of the good stuff, Sean, it tends to be behind the scenes good stuff, not on the pitch good stuff. So yes, he got Romero. We can talk about Bentancur and Kulu if you want, depending on how much people rate them or think they've had varied degrees of success. But I also look at a lot of the players he's bought and gone, not for me, not good enough. Lang, I think Lang's brought in some decent players, but I think this is a great talking point. I think this is a major question mark here. The two people that we want to build this club, and again, it doesn't matter if it's Frank, Orange, or next manager, these are the two people that the club have said are going to build us, right? Yeah. They are going to be the ones that are buying the players for however many years, for whatever manager. I need to see a lot more. I can't remember a really good forward that Paratici's bought at all. I question the fullbacks that Paratici's bought. But then again, like you said on the show earlier, some of them were bought as wing backs for Conte, and then they're not fullbacks, and we're now paying for that. I don't know. I'm really on the fence with them. What about you?
I don't rate Johan Lang. I think he's another one that's just got a bit of a personality that I can't imagine I would be compelled by.
Yeah,
I think he comes across a bit of a damp squib of a donut. And I mean, so I'm so out of breath from running down the stairs. This is how out of shape I am. I think the like Berghvall obviously is a player that everyone has high hopes for, expectations for, but that's too early to tell. Yeah. And when I look back to the Paratici things, I think everyone was like, look at Pape Sarr, right? You know, when he first came back and he started to play and we saw some bits from him. I don't know, like you can, if you're just being judged on buying younger players in like the likes of Udogie and Pape Sarr and these types, then you can be right in identifying the talent, but it's ultimately you're never going to be proven right or wrong if they were successes until 3, 4, 5 years later, and that's largely not up to you, is it? You're identifying the potential, not the finished product. So, like, you could almost make the argument that like a director of football's job is easy if you're just there on a 2-3 year term buying 18-year-olds, because you're never really going to be be held accountable for their success until they're older, and in all likelihood you won't be there to see that. For the players that you bought. So go on.
No, so I was just going to say that's why for me, when we have these conversations, I feel like you look at the way we all talk about the manager, and then there's 50-50. You then look at the players, 50-50. People either think they're good or not. We're having the same conversation on Paratici and Lang.
Yeah,
we're having the same conversation about the owners. Are they going to do this, that? That's why I think this is an amalgamation which I would not be able to spell, I don't think, unless I really thought about it hardly. This is an amalgamation of loads of different players, bought for loads of different managers, with loads of different directors of football, under different owners, different strategies, different formations, different styles. And unfortunately, you have to hit a brick wall. And I think we have. So we can have the conversation all day long. And I know people just want to do the Frank out thing at the moment, but at some stage, something's got to give somewhere. Something's got to give. And if I said to you right now, do you trust Paratici to go out into that market and land top players? Because Paratici and Lang, look at the names that we are unable to get hold of. Now, I'll ask you this. Is this because of where Spurs are in the pecking order, or is this because of our inability to sell the club? I'll let you decide, Sean, right? This is now Gibbs White.
I think it's a combination of both, mate. Just quickly on the Paratici thing, to answer that question, can he go and find the best players? He can find. He's got a higher capability of getting players out of Italy. The problem is that all of the good players that are in Italy that you'd really want, they don't want to leave Italy for whatever reason.
Yeah, true.
The Bastonis, the Martinez, the Tara Martinez. A lot of these guys are like, no, I'm just really happy. I don't want to go to England. So it's not just a Tottenham thing. They would turn down City. They would turn down United. They're happy where they are. And so if you're going to go to that second tier in Italy where he might be able to attract players, they often don't acclimate that well. And so his unbelievable skill set, where he's got all the connections, and he's an old he's like a black book guy, isn't he? He's got his black book of contacts and all that stuff. Where he adds absolute value, I think there's a limit and a ceiling to the value that he can get because of just the kind of nature of the beast with Italian football. You know, and that's the problem.
I'm just going by like if we look right now, Semenyo's the flavour of the month. By all intents and purposes, it looks like we are fourth choice for Semenyo behind Liverpool, City, and United, right? Gibbs White, we didn't manage to get. Now, again, Sean, I can't sit here, and I don't think you could either, and confidently say this is all down to Lang, or this is all down to Paratici, or Levy, or Vin. I don't know, but whenever we seem to go in for a player of that ilk, we can't get them. So you've got to ask the question: what's the next thing behind going for the ready-made players? It is scouting well. It is. Can we find a Bruno Guimaraes before he's the Bruno Guimaraes we know now?
Yeah.
Can we find that player? Not 18-year-olds. Can we find that player from France, from Italy, from Germany? I just haven't seen that from Paratici. I'm not knocking him. He's done decent, but I don't trust that.
You know what's weird though, Sava, right? These people are employed to do nothing all day long apart from watch tape, look at Y-Scout, Opta Index, whatever else.
Yeah.
I remember Bruno Guimaraes when he went to Newcastle. I remember Jack Kinsky of Irish Hotspur fame 3 months earlier saying we should go and get Bruno Guimaraes. And he spoke about him ad nauseum all summer. And he ended up going to Newcastle. He went, that's the one we've missed out on. He was bang on. I remember loads of people. I think Danny comes to mind as someone who likes to... He talks about him a lot as saying, and I remember him saying it, but I remember a lot of people talking about Milenkovic.
Oh, Milenkovic,
Milenkovic, right? When he was at Fiorentina, I think he was, right? And look how well he's done. Like amongst the fan base, there's a Newcastle fan called Foxy who's unbelievable with his knowledge of of football, right? Everything's changing. Oh, we got epilepsy's back.
Vecna is in my room.
I just feel like you sit there and kind of go, how is it that none of our scouts find these players, but fans that have got day jobs that just watch football casually? I'm sure that the fans of it. I'm not saying that the fans don't also throw out 100 names that are also
no, of course.
But like, it's like I don't feel like Tottenham never surprised me. Tottenham they never surprised me with a name that I haven't heard of that comes in and does really well. I mean, maybe there's one example, although a lot of people have suddenly changed their mind on him, Kevin Danso. I think everybody was okay with Kevin. Everyone didn't know who he was really. Okay. And then Kevin Danso came and did really well last season, I thought, when he was asked. Yeah. And I think he's done generally quite well. But I don't think many people were too familiar with Kevin Danso. But most of the names we're linked with,
they're squad players, right? We're talking about can we go and find? See, the word gem, I think, is confusing. I'm talking about a gem that drops straight into the first team. Not oh my God, they're 18, and by the time they're 21, they're going to have turned into a brilliant player. Like you look at Kamara at Villa, free transfer. Like, who scouted that, right? You look at Gomares at Newcastle. Who scouted that? You look at Undai at Everton. I'm just trying to use. I'm trying to use examples without going to the ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Just good, solid.
Sangare at Forest, right? Really solid player.
Yeah. Like,
yes,
and
the Eindhoven level,
this is what I've said all along. I don't expect, by the way, I know the owners will get a lot of stick for not being able to get Semenyo, right? But I don't expect us to compete with City, Liverpool, and Man United for Semenyo. My question is, we know that that's a long shot. What else you got brewing? Where is the thing that shows us you've actually gone and done your homework and scouted and found the top player? There's watch the Spanish league, watch the German league. There's
so many players out there. Look at the Belgium league, right? The Belgium league has unbelievable talent. I still maintain there's a guy that's currently playing for USG. For USG now, who was at Charleroi, a guy called Adem Zorgan, right? He's a bit of a lump. He's not the most mobile, but you won't find a better passer of the football than him. Right? He's a brilliant passer, and he's exactly what we need. But he's probably not mobile enough. But Arden Jashwari, right? Another player. There's players everywhere. There are players everywhere. And yet, for me, Tottenham scouts are either busy trying to find 17-year-olds that no one's heard of, that then we have to wait 3 years to hopefully see mature. But ultimately, in the meantime, they're being played in the first team. And then people are writing them off, going, they're not good enough, when they shouldn't be first-team players. They wouldn't be first-team players if they went anywhere else. You look at Arsenal right now. Chelsea have done it, right? And even like the likes of Manchester United, those guys are all they fix their first team first. Like, first thing is first. You get your first team level up, you get your squad up, and then once that's done, then you go and get the likes of the Rayan from Vasco da Gama. Then you go and get the likes of Esteval. Then you go and get the likes of all of these sort of kids that might be there, and then they can come in, get 20 minutes here, there, show their talent, and if they happen to be ready, then they get more and more minutes. Tottenham put the second thing first, going and buying all these 18-year-olds, having nobody of quality in the first team, making the 18-year-olds play, being held to the account and the standards, like people like James Flower say, if you're old enough and you're in the first team, I'm going to judge you accordingly. And that's fine, by the way, and that's you should. But that's not on them. Like, you shouldn't be saying, fuck Berghvall, fuck Sarr, fuck Gray.
No.
Like, they're not good enough. It's not them. Like, they shouldn't. I mean, Sarr is a bit old now, but those kids shouldn't be there. Like,
do you know what I like in this?
10 minutes.
When I was 19, 20, what am I now? Yeah, when I was 19, 20, something like that, I DJ'd in Greece for 2 summers, right, in Malia. And
nice.
above the bar, my boss Yanni had this big sign that said, "Free drinks tomorrow," right? So people would come in and they'd always go, yeah, all the groups of guys, and we'll come back tomorrow. They come back and they go, right, free drinks. And he'd go, no.
It's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow. It's right. And that's what
that's a great word.
Remind me of, because as much as we keep talking about, well, this kid in 3 years, Vuskovic next year, this kid this year, 2 years for Young, that's great. But this all has a knock-on effect, Sean. If we keep doing that, top players will never, ever look at us and go, yeah, they're serious, because they'll say, oh, they're just building a youth team, right? Equally, if you buy too many youth players, you're going to get to the stage where you've got so many that they're all going to go, well, like right now, you've got Tel, Odegaard, Young, and Moore, who will all go, well, hang on, I want to be the best, the next best left winger at Spurs. All 4 of them can't be that. Right. So for me, we've got enough now of that. I think unless anyone exceptional comes up, like Yamin Yamal, who's not joining Spurs, right? For me, you're right. Well, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I'd go and get someone ready. But I think you're right. You get the 11 sorted. That means whoever's in your 11 right now spills over to the bench. That means whoever's then on the bench spills down into, right, let's find you a new home, right? Because you're not good enough. And then when you keep doing that, you naturally see a process of players getting better. The team gets better. The squad gets better. The league position gets better. But we don't do that. And that's what I need to see from Paratici and Lang. And this January, we know January's tough. I'm not expecting miracles, Sean. I want to see green shoots. I want to see that in a difficult market, they've had 4 or 5 months now to get this plan ready.
Yeah.
Show us something. Go and get a loan in, for example, where we go, cool, how did you dig that one out? Do you know what I mean? Go and get
like
a
a
player.
Leon Goretzka.
Right. You go to Bayern and go, we want Leon Goretzka on loan with an option to buy or whatever it is. And you turn around and you go, okay, well, clearly they've identified we're weak in midfield. They've identified we need a man, not a boy. And they've got a player who's been there, seen it and done it, walks into the changing room and everyone else will go, that's Leon Goretzka.
Yeah.
Right? No, I'm not saying
he's 30, Sabo. And yet I spoke about him on yesterday's show. And I had to convince the chat. At the start of the chat, I said, anyone want him? What we thought? And he was like, nah, Spurs Nepal, he's a nice guy. He's like, nah, he's 30 years old. A lot of people go, we've gone from buying kids to buying old age pensioners. Shout out to Lee Enigma. I love you, man. But just referencing your comment yesterday. And I'm like, well, where do we
what do we want?
We've got kids that are going to be mature in a couple of years' time. If they're not ready now, if Archie Gray is supposed to be someone that we're thinking, well, let's not, send him out on loan. Let's hope that he's going to be this great player in the future. Then what's the problem having a Leon Goretzka from the age of 30 to the age of 33? What's the problem with that?
But again, I think the problem is we feel like everyone that comes in needs to be here forever. So I saw this the other day with Ter Stegen. People going, he's 33. Cool. He's a goalkeeper, right? You're telling me if someone said you're going to have Ter Stegen between 33 and 35, 36, and in that time you scout a new goalkeeper, right? Absolutely. You're telling me we're going to get Leon Goretzka, who's going to come in for the last 6 months of the season and shore up that midfield? Absolutely. But he's
everything you need, by the way. He's experienced. He's a leader. He's a brilliant passer. He can drive with the ball, and he's a unit. He's an absolute unit of a bloke. He's 6'3". He's strong in the tackle, and suddenly you go in. You put, and he's played with Polinia, right? So you got Polinia and Goretzka. Okay, they're a little bit old, but you put those two, and you put Xavi Simons in front, and then you go not quite as concerned about taking on Newcastle's midfield. Not quite concerned. Not quite as concerned about being beaten up by Villa. Right now, Berghvall or Sarr comes in, and you're like,
but the thing is, right? And look, the fans don't pick the players, right? Obviously, the scouts do, but the scouts don't do it. Our fans as well, though. I think we've got this I think we've got a little bit of what's the term? We've got a bit of God complex at Tottenham. Like if you look at the
Messianic complex, is that what it is? Messianic complex.
Possibly. And I know we don't pick the players, but the number of people that are named where you go, yeah, that player walks into Spurs 11, that our fans go, no, not good enough. Like in the last year, I've heard that Locatelli's not good enough, that Conor Gallagher's not good enough, Marcus Rashford isn't good enough, Jack Grealish isn't good enough, Ter Stegen isn't good enough, Goretzka. But these are the same fans that when you get to the match day are going, we need reinforcements. Yeah, but you don't seem to think anyone's. So who is it? We have to acknowledge, Sean.
This is what I'm worried about, Sab, because I was saying, I don't know if you caught the very start of the show that I did, but my first 2 minutes was, so we're not allowed, if you ask, obviously not everyone feels this way, but certain people in the fan base, you're not allowed any more kids. You're not allowed anyone over the age of 28 because they're grandpas. You're not allowed anybody from anywhere that's overseas because they're coming from Farmers League. You're not allowed anyone that's foreign because of the homegrown contingent. You're not allowed anyone that's small. You're not allowed anyone that's slow. You're not allowed anyone that's... And you're like, okay, so there's probably like... And also, we know we can't get those players because they won't come. We know we can't get those players because we can't afford them. We know we can't get those players because we won't pay the wages. So when you filter all that stuff out, we're left with about 3 teams worth of players in the Premier League that we could possibly attract players from. And it's like sometimes we have to think a little bit outside the box. I'd say. No,
agreed. Look, as I keep saying to people, I think only for me, I understand the limitations on what Spurs can sign. I'd love to think that Spurs can just go and mix it with the big clubs and sign top players. I don't think we're there yet, but there's a big group underneath that level where I think we should be shopping. So, for example, if you said to me right now, right, for the second half of the season, I'm just spitballing here. For the second half of the season, Spurs are going to take Marcus Rashford on loan and he's going to be a striker or a left-sided forward, right? I'm taking that all day long. Experienced, scored goals, played for England, won trophies with Man United, has got good numbers. knows what he's doing, bang, straight away. Right? We need some smart signings like that. Like if I said, I'm taking Conor Gallagher from Atletico Madrid on loan for 6 months, right? That doesn't mean Conor Gallagher's got to start every minute of every game. But what a great option to have in your midfield for work rate, engine, passing, tackling, mentality. But the problem is, I need to see this, not just me, I need to see this from Lang and more importantly now Paratici with the senior team, that they've got the ability to go to just spitballing here, don't all ever go, that they've got the ability to go to Conor Gallagher, for example, and go, look, we know you're not getting loads of games at Atletico. Do you fancy joining us? We'll build the midfield around you for the last 6 months and we'll have an option to buy if you like it.
Conor Gallagher, yeah?
Like, just for example, right? I'm just using him as a hypothetical, right?
Yep.
And that for me, I think when our fans see a senior pro like Conor Gallagher, who's been there, seen it and done it, captains Chelsea, played for Atletico and England in tournaments, I think we will see the level up that we are not seeing now in the likes of Gray, Sarr and Berghvall and what Bentancur once was but isn't anymore. At the moment, it feels like we're too scared because we've been so burnt in signing players. I think we're too scared with every name that's mentioned.
The pushback from the audio, from some people in the chat or in the community will be, what top 4 team does Conor Gallagher get into? Right?
Sure,
and to me, the answer is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Sometimes it's about whether the play. It's like there's probably players that play for Manchester City or for Arsenal that don't get into each other's teams, right? Or even sometimes like you wouldn't necessarily need them in your own team because you've got a better player. But like it's about the sum. If the sum is greater than the parts. And that's why I keep harking on about this thing. Like there's the kind of the tangible stuff that we're looking at. Are they good enough passers of the ball? Are they good enough at taking chances? Are they good enough at conversions? Are they, whatever? But then you look at players like Vicario, and we acknowledge that it's an intangible thing that people have a problem with Vicario, right? It's he loses his mind or he struggles under pressure. That's an intangible. Why can't that same extrapolation be used to outfield players and then go? It's not just about whether you struggle under pressure, but like, are you a leader? Are you capable of like rising the levels of everyone around you? And someone like Conor Gallagher, someone like David Fratesi is another one that might be able to do it, right? A Locatelli, all these sorts of guys, they're workhorses. Yes, they're better technically, but they also level up in other ways that bring the better, the best out of others around them, that then allow their technical stuff to look a little bit better because you start to see a better version, a more confident, more happy, more engaged, energized version of those other players that we currently think aren't good enough, but we don't ask why.
When we're talking about what other top 4 teams, you've got to remember for Spurs to get back to being there. If we go back to the Poch era where we were a top 2, 3, 4 team, if we want to get back to that level, you don't just jump there immediately. Now, you might pop into the top 4 for a year, but if you want to be there consistently, you've got to build to that level. And we've got to understand that where we are right now, we don't have that level of footballer. We just don't. If we want to be there, you take baby steps. But we've also got to remember, right, that Conor Gallagher captained, when we're saying wouldn't get in the top 4, Conor Gallagher captains Chelsea in a season where they finished 3rd or 4th or what. Like Conor Gallagher is a. By the way, I'm not.
He was quintessential in the kind of the green shoots of what Crystal Palace have become.
Yeah,
and he was there under Roy Hodgson, right? That was the start of what Crystal Palace is now. Glasner didn't inherit a shit show. Glasner inherited a team that was building something.
Yeah, it was growing,
And Conor Gallagher was a massive part of that, right? So, like, I definitely think that there's value in a player like Conor Gallagher.
Chelsea, when I was working at Chelsea, Conor Gallagher, first one there, last one out, right? Loved by everybody. His work rate, his attitude, his aura around the club was top draw. He's a top draw professional. There would be none of this throwing the shirt on the floor. There would be none of this storming down the tunnel. This is a consummate professional who every game will give you 7 to 8 out of 10, and he will die for the cause. But when you suggest him to Spurs fans, we go, not better than what we've. Yes, he is. Right now, he would come in and be our best midfielder. That's unfortunately where we are. Now, that doesn't mean that in 2 to 3 years you can't bring in a better player, but we need some.
I rate Conor
leaders.
Gallagher for all
I
the
rate
reasons
him.
you just said. I also think though that there'll be the people out there because when he was at Chelsea, he would give the ball away at times, right? But similar to like
Sure.
White gives the ball away at times.
Sure.
It's just like everyone makes mistakes, but if you try things, if you're progressive and you're engaged and aggressive in your pursuit of movements and moments in games, you have to take risks, and sometimes those things come in transitions. But if you have a Conor Gallagher, he's the sort of guy that will give the ball away and then will like break a lung to get back and win it back. Whereas other players give the ball away and then just stand there and look at it as it gets moved forward behind them. And that to me is a problem. I also think there's a big problem with the maturity in the squad. I look at players like Brennan Johnson, Pape Sarr, and some of those kind of those sorts of caliber, those sorts of profiles. And I think, are you the sort of guy that like when you rock up to training, are you just playing? Are you just joking around? Is it all banter? Is it a bit of a kind of not childish, but is it a bit of an immature dressing room where you can't wait to get home and stick on FIFA? I bet you Cristiano Ronaldo wouldn't have been a good, like a fun guy that you mess around with and play jokes on and have a laugh and a giggle. Like he's the sort of guy that gets to work, similar sort of thing like Roy Keane. Like they go to work, they lace up, they get out there, they train, they bollock you if you're late, if you're 10 seconds late to get out when the manager wants to commence training, and then they stay behind doing their free kicks and their weight room training, whatever they're doing. I reckon there's a lot of players in the Tottenham dressing room that rock up just before the start. Yeah. And as soon as it's time to clock out, they go home and put their feet up and then play FIFA or whatever.
It's too easy for them. And the thing is, some people have that aura. Some people naturally have that lead. You don't have to be the captain, but some people naturally have that leadership, and that when you look at them, you go, yeah, that's a top professional. And you hear other professionals talk about these players, right? With ours, now, like, I'm not having a go, but like when Adam said, I don't blame Spence for doing what he did. But that's exactly what we don't need in the club. Not Adam.
Yeah, I disagree with him on that. 100%.
That's exactly what we don't need. If we think it's okay, even if they hate Frank, even if they hate Ange, none of these players should get. Romero did it last season, right? Spence did it last. It doesn't matter. You've got to be a consummate professional. If I'm pissed, if you're my boss, Sean, you pull me off. You subbed me off. Yeah, pause. Right? You subbed me off, right? And I'm furious with you. I should be professional enough that if I'm going to kick off at you, I'm going to wait until I'm in the changing room, right? And then we deal with it. But we are now condoning. This is the problem. We've now got fans condoning. Yeah, I don't blame the players for what? No, this is not what professionals do. Ledley King would not have done this. Michael Dawson, right? Moussa Dembele, these people did not do this because they were senior pros with pride. You can't just say, oh, well, I'm not happy with you today. Go on, have the shirt thrown in your face or the ground. It's just silly. And we need players that won't do it. Goretzka wouldn't be that guy. Gallagher wouldn't. Jack Grealish was one we talked about in the summer. Jack Grealish, again, is a wonderful professional that everyone just goes, he's a drunk. No, you mean you've seen him drunk. That doesn't mean he's a drunk. He's a consummate professional who all the evidence.
It's like me, mate. It's like me. I'm always drinking. Doesn't mean I'm always drunk.
Yeah. Some guy in your chat keeps asking, so why hasn't Conor Gallagher been able to break into the Atletico squad? Well, he is getting games. But you realize he's playing for Atletico Madrid with a lot of top footballers. You realize the options that Atletico Madrid have got in midfield, right? It's the same. That's like saying, why doesn't Tijani Reinders start every game for Man City? Well, they've got Nico Gonzalez, David Silva, Phil Foden, right? You've got Rodri. This is the problem when you go to these bigger clubs. Some players acknowledge they're rotational footballers. Other players, like Rodri, De Bruyne was for years, Haaland, they are the main guys.
Present. Yeah,
that's what happens.
Yeah. Listen, mate, I've got a few. We've once again. I always title a show one thing, and then I completely forget to even mention the actual title of the show. Tottenham Liverpool, just to round us off. What are you expecting tomorrow? What's your prediction? Liverpool do have quite a lot of injuries. I think Szoboszlai's probably out. Cody Gakpo's definitely out. Joe Gomez is definitely out. Obviously, Salah is missing as well. There's
So just a forward line of Ekatike, Isak, and Wirtz. Yeah.
I don't think I think the probable starting 11, from what I can gather, looking at a bunch of different previews, they're going to say that it's probably Alisson, Bradley at right back, Kanate, Van Dijk, and Kirkes, McAllister, Gravenberch, and then Wirtz, and then Chiesa off the left, Jones off the right, and Ekitike. Look, it's obviously a very difficult very difficult challenge, but it's arguably a little bit. It's not as bad as it could be.
Yeah, no, of course. Look, obviously, when a club are missing any players that get into their first team, it's more difficult, sure. But you've just named some very good footballers there. And for us, we're playing Liverpool just as they're now 5 unbeaten. You know why couldn't we have Liverpool when they were 9 defeats in 12? Why aren't we playing that Liverpool? I don't know. I think this is going to be a tough game. I really do. My head says that Liverpool win this. My heart says that I'd absolutely take a draw. And I think if we win, I think that would be amazing. Can't see it. I guess it's just don't get embarrassed, right? And I think if he does get a massive defeat, then we've seen this game before, right? So
I still don't think he'll get sacked.
I don't think he will because of the timing, because they're brand new, the structure. I don't, but it just won't help in the fan base. If he could somehow get 4 points from the next 2, which I don't think will happen, by the way, but if he can get 4 points from Palace and Liverpool, I think that will quieten down a lot as we go into the January transfer window. But if he gets no points from the next 2, we're going to have an amazing window, and he's going to then have to go on an amazing run in January. So, look, what will be, right? What will be, but tough game.
What's your how do you see Tottenham setting up? Do you think Jed Spence should be dropped for Ben Davies just as a punishment for his petulance?
This is the problem, isn't it? And this is the problem. If we had a properly put together squad, you go, yeah, just drop Jed Spence because you've got players that play there. But the option is Ben Davies.
Yeah. Ben Davies against Connor Bradley. Oh, sorry, Curtis Jones rather.
Look, I would drop him for what he's done. Have we got the players right now that we can drop him? I don't know. I think he'll go back to Bentancur Paulinho, which I think makes sense. I think that I think when we've played Bentancur and Paulinho together, it's not been great football, Sean, but we concede less goals.
Yeah.
Because both of those will put out fires. They're both good in the air. They both protect the back 4. I think we will go to that and try and hit on the counter. I think
set pieces.
I think if we try and play through them, I just don't think we've got it. So I don't know. Really tough game.
Who are you playing off the left and at the top? Does Richalison still? For me, Richalison should be dropped. Someone else at my door again. Fuck, sorry, just give me 1 second.
I'll keep talking. You're right. Come, you're right. Yeah, I think this is one. I'd be interested to see what the chat thinks. Whether does Richie start again for any form of physicality? Do you just put Mawani there? Does he maybe put Simmons off the left and pack the midfield with 3? I genuinely don't know. And again, this comes down to lack of options. I don't like if you don't play Mawani on the left, who goes there? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. And I'm the worst person to ask this one, guys, because I don't really rate the squad. I think it will be Vicario, Porro, Romero, Van der Ven. I think it will be Spence. I think there'll be Bentancur Paulinho. I think he might put Berghvall in there to make it a 3 and possibly use Simmons as a false left winger, if you will, and then have Kudus from the right and Mawani up top. I don't know. I I don't.
Yeah, it's like a 4-2-2-2, but with
Yeah.
those guys
Yeah.
moving. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
God, how I wish this was Dembele and Wanyama starting, and God,
we're so far from those days, aren't we? We're so
we
far
are
from those.
so far from those days. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Listen, guys, we're going to round.
Let's hope we can get something shown. Let's hope. I like I'm seeing people say, "Oh, hopefully we lose 5-0 and he gets sacked." I mean, that's just not my mind. Hopefully we can get a win. Like, hopefully we can. I'll take a point.
I think that they're very sketchy from set pieces. I think we can cause a few troubles in that regard. I'd like to see our corner kick routines be a little bit more, expanded in the choices. Every single corner kick we take, we just try to score from them. It's just like a curling in swinger that tries to put the goalkeeper under pressure. And I think that's fine, but I think it becomes a little bit predictable. I think occasionally it'd be nice to see a little bit of a different routine. We basically try and score, and if it's over hit, he goes to the back post, and then we see what happens. But looking for Kolo Muani to get on the score sheet or to do an assist just to shut James Flower down a little bit, because that's become my little bee in my bonnet.
To be fair, forget James Flower. He's been bought in as a striker to this football club. We need to see some goals.
Yeah, 100%.
Forget James. He rates Vicario. No, just joking, James. Look, he's got to start scoring some goals, right? He's got to, and it's going to be tough tomorrow. Look, we know Van Dijk and Konate. Whatever we think of them, they're powerful.
Oh, there he is.
Boys, right?
There he is.
Is he in the chat? Yeah.
Very good. What's your score prediction, mate?
If I offered you a point right now, would you take it?
Of course, yeah. Bite your hand off, yeah.
Okay.
Would you? What's your score prediction?
My head says 2-1 Liverpool. My heart says 2-2. I've just got a feeling. And now, if we lose the game, you lose the game. Losing to Liverpool, there's no shame, but there's a way you lose, right? So there's that. I think that's what's going to define tomorrow. I think if we're open up,
the problem is with that is that if he thinks that and he says, you know what, we're probably going to lose, so play more expansive football, at least give them something to get behind, right? And so if we're going to lose, we lose well. You're more likely to lose.
No, of course. Well, I'm just saying
if you set up shop a little bit tighter, I think you're more likely to get something out of the game. But if you don't, then you're fucked on the way it's received. You know.
But this goes down to my theory. This could be completely wrong. My theory is this is why I think he was doing the whole Bentancur Paulinho thing when he started the season. I think he acknowledges that we're quite toothless and spineless. I think he acknowledges that there's weak characters, and I think he wanted to keep it as tight as possible. It's when he's come away from those. I get it. When those two play, it's not expansive. When he's moved away from those two, though, and put one of them in with either a Berghvall or a Sarr or a Gray, whatever, we concede loads more goals. So I think he knows that if he goes for games, we're going to be opened up, and if he doesn't, we're going to be boring to watch. And that is why I think he's probably. I'm not saying he's right or wrong for this. I'm not defending. I just think at the moment, I think he doesn't know what is best to do right now. Now, does a few extra bodies in January of quality, maybe a Lookman, does that change this? Maybe. We will see. We will see. But I'm not dying on a hill for anyone. I'm not dying on a hill for any of these players or this manager or this board. They've all got.
I learned that lesson a long time ago, mate. If I could wind back 3.5 years, 4 years, and come in. And I remember just my very first introduction to content. I did a pre-match fan phoning show on We Are Tottenham TV. I had no idea. I thought that Dave Irish Hotspur was the host of We Are Tottenham because it was the first. I was like, oh, Tottenham have got a YouTube show. Oh, that's interesting. Let's watch that. And then he was doing it. And then I was like, oh, I'll buy a membership and I'll phone in. And within I was the last one to phone in before it was against Burnley away. And it was snowed off. And I'll never forget it. And because I was the last one to phone in, rather than having my 10 minutes, we decided to carry on for 45 minutes. And he decided that Levy was a problem. And me being the contrarian that I am, decided to say, no, he isn't. And here's why. And then we had a blazing, me and Dave, right, on We Are Tottenham TV. And everyone in the chat's going, Sean, you absolutely, who is this donut? Get this dickhead off the chat, whatever. And I felt horrendous afterwards watching it back. The next day, I reached out to Dave and said, "I'm so sorry if I ruined your show." He's like, "It's not even my show, mate. I'm on the Irish Hotspur." I was like, "Oh, okay." So I went on his channel and then continued the Daniel Levy thing only because I'm a contrarian. If I could go 4 years, I would never have done it. I would just go like, you know what, it is what it is. So there's some good, there's some bad. But like, there's no point. These people don't even know we exist, Sava, and we're sitting there arguing and getting anger from people we don't know. How dare you defend Kolo Muani? How dare you think that this player is anything other than shit? You know, never again. Never again.
Do you know what I said the other day, right? Is when the next manager comes in, I am having zero opinion on him at all. Do you know, literally, right? Yeah. Let's say the manager is, I don't know, De Zerbi. I'm literally going to go, welcome to the club. Let's see what you've got. And every show, I'm just going to let people in the chat go, De Zerbi versus Frank versus that. Because me saying I wanted Frank means whatever comes out my mouth now, and it doesn't matter what I actually say in there, they hear what they want to hear. Yeah. Sava's defending Frank. No, I'm not. Listen to what I'm saying. Sack him. Fine. What's the plan? Oh, you're defending Frank. No. Sack him. Listen, why am I going to care? If Thomas Frank is sacked tomorrow, Sean, the geezer gets paid £12.5 million.
Yeah.
And unless he's giving that to me.
And you might get paid £12.5 in additional ad revenue because the fact that the content goes up, you know?
I genuinely don't. The thing is for me, I genuinely don't care. Micro versus macro. I genuinely don't care. Thomas Frank will be that in my history of supporting Spurs. What's that? Yeah. Where are Spurs going? Where are we heading? What are we doing? Right. So I am having no opinion on the next manager. I'm just going to say, right, fair enough. Let's see. I don't care if it's Brendan Rodgers, Ryan Mason, whoever it is. Go on, crack on, because it is amazing. I know you get this as well, Sean. It's amazing. We'll be playing in a game and winning, and no one says anything. We'll be playing in a game and losing, and it's your manager. You wanted this guy. You deserve this. It's like, aren't I a Spurs fan the same as you? Why are you happy that Spurs are losing because I want it? It blows my mind.
Part of the game, Savage. Part of the game, though, isn't it? This is the life we've chosen.
This is the life. Yeah. Listen, I need to go because I need to walk the dog.
We're
that's the life I've chosen as well. But
we're going to go. We're going to go. I want to say massive thank. Oh shit! There's one super chat. Let me get the last super chat. Real Nate, big up to you. He says, if we were serious, we'd grab Gallagher and then Alex Scott to be in rotation rather than an 18-year-old youth can't develop if we depend on them to start. Well, that's the thing. I think the point there, mate. Alex Scott I think it's another player that will. I'm not sure if he's necessarily the level that everyone wants, right? And so that's that's another interesting one. I don't mind Alex Scott. I don't mind Conor Gallagher, but the second that they come in, if they don't do well, you'll get the section of the fan base that will say, well, why do we buy them? They're never going to get into a top 4 team, you know, and then we used to be a top 4 team, so we should be able to get, you know, it carries on. Big up to you, Nate. Thank you very much for the super chat, my man.
Can I say one last thing? I think half of this, someone said to me the other day, my uncle said to me the other day, he said, half the problem with our family, he's a Spurs fan, he said, half the problem with our fan base is some people talk about us like this is the Poch team for 2016, 2017. Yeah. They talk about us rocking up.
The expectation of the fans is here because of an artificial high of the Champions League final. Yeah, 100%.
Mate, the Champions League final and the Europa. I've said this before.
The worst thing that could have happened to Tottenham Hotspur.
Both the European finals came at a point when we weren't doing well, right? And it papered over loads of cracks. So people going, well, we won a trophy. So even Adam came on before and went, what are we going to win this season? Well, realistically, what did you think we were going to win? Realistically, we're not in the Europa League this year. Yeah. Right? We're not winning
even the Carabao Cup, right? Who are the likely 4 teams that are left? Newcastle, Chelsea, City, and then one of Palace or Arsenal. Right?
Right.
And at the semi-final stage, they start playing the big boys in their teams.
Exactly.
And that's apparently the easiest. I don't think it is, but that's apparently the easiest trophy to win. So
the FA Cup and the League Cup it will be won by the big clubs again this year. They will.
It always is.
Yeah. You get the anomaly. You get Palace who won it last year, but this is the thing. We all want to win things, but just because we won a trophy last year for the first time in 17 years doesn't mean we just naturally kick on and win more trophies. You've got to Anyway, look, I'll let you go.
Yeah.
Much love.
No, I'm going to go
I've
as well.
got
I'm
to
going to go as well. Finish now. Appreciate everyone. Thanks ever so much for everyone. Please go over to Football Heritage TV. Guys in the chat, in half an hour, we'll be on Football Inc. So come over and say hello there. And we'll be talking about the predicciones and all that stuff. Appreciate everyone. Like, subscribe, and comment to both. And as always, bye.